Hi there, smart drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about right-of-way rules, mostly at two-way stop signs, four-way stop signs, yield signs, intersections, simple intersections, complex intersections, to keep you safe and reduce the chances of you being involved in a crash. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, smart drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about right-of-way rules. Goose is here. Corey, who is Bricks for Wheels, that's his username. Corey is the moderator. He keeps all the bad people out. And Rocky's here from Windsor. Katie's here. Rocco's here from San Diego. Jim Bob. Hello, everyone. Excellent that you tuned in. Welcome, welcome. And lots going on at Smart Drive Test. It's March break here in British Columbia. My friend Tim is here from Drive Smart BC. If you want to know anything about laws, regulations, traffic rules, traffic culture, excellent forums over at his website, so be sure to check that as well. Margaret's here from Brooklyn and working towards getting her license. One more live coming. Excellent. Kirsten, thank you for answering all of my anxiety questions over the past few months. I took my first road test after 8 years of putting it off on Monday, and I passed. Thank you so much. Kirsten, that is absolutely awesome news. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. That is terrific. Excellent. Palachami, I don't think I'm saying that. We're past your class 5. That's awesome. Eving from the UK. Trucking Adventures. Hello, my friend from the UK. That's brilliant. And James, thanks for all your videos. I'm taking my CDL license tomorrow in Alberta. I love your tips. And excellent. Bridgeport, Connecticut. Brilliant. So lots of people here. This week I took a trip to Calgary. Went to Calgary. I did some work with Nelson, who owns South Trail Driving School. We did some videos with one of his vehicles that's equipped for people with disabilities who need to drive with hand controls. So they generally it's paraplegics. They don't have use of their lower extremities, so they need to drive with hand control throttle, and they need to drive with a spinner knob. And spinner knobs have advanced a lot since I used them 20 years ago. I hate to say it's 20 years ago, but it was 20 years ago when I was teaching people with disabilities how to drive vehicles with hand controls. And that was very exciting because Nelson has all the latest up-to-date technology in the vehicle. And it was good for me because, you know, the secondary controls are right on buttons above the spinner knob. So you don't have to take your hand off the wheel to turn the signals on, turn windshield wipers on, those types of things. So it's really awesome. So that should be coming up in a couple, 2-3 weeks. I'll put that video up of that interview. Went for a drive, and it was really informative stuff. And Trucking Adventures, 1 a.m. in the UK there. You're having some trouble sleeping up watching the live stream. That's awesome. And the other thing I did while I was in Calgary was started looking for a new vehicle. And I had kind of 3 or 4 vehicles that I wanted to drive on the list. I'm looking kind of in the X5 category. So I drove the BMW X5, we drove the Audi Q7, and then yesterday we drove down to Kelowna for the day and drove the Acura MDX, and it looks like it's probably going to be the BMW X5. I'm really leaning towards the BMW X5. I actually heard that a Amtrak train hit a garbage truck. Where was that, Jim Bob, that happened, that unfortunate incident? Okay, so I'm shopping for a new vehicle. Lots going on here at the channel. As I said, the shoot with Nelson was really awesome in Calgary, the nice drive to Calgary, and my girlfriend has a 2018 Volkswagen Golf with a 1.8 liter turbo in it, and on the way to Calgary we got 44 miles to the gallon Imperial. On the way back we got 50 miles to the gallon Imperial on it, so it was 6.5 liters to the 100 kilometers on the way out and 5.5 liters to the 100 on the way back. So that's a very fuel efficient car if any of you are looking for a fuel efficient vehicle. And not only that, because it's a 1.8 liter turbo and it's a smaller vehicle, lots of pep. So, you know, if you want to get up and go, and it's a 5-speed as well. So if you want to get up and go, it will get up and go. But at the same time, it gets excellent fuel mileage. So it might be something you want to consider if you're buying a pre-owned vehicle, because it's not even a brand new vehicle. So it's really great. Okay. Evan, if there are 2 multiple right turn lanes out of the 2 cars, who are in the individual, who has the right of way? Referring to 2 cars in each right turn lane, and who gets there first? If you're turning right, you can both turn right at the same time. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you could rephrase that and ask me again. Trucking Adventures, I'm off now. Just finished a 15-hour shift, and I hope to find your new car soon. Yeah, I'm hoping to find that soon as well. Tenzid, thank you, watching from San Francisco. Hello, my friend. That's awesome. All right, so what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about right-of-way rules. I'll get over to the presentation here. It'll be about 10-12 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions that you have about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver on the road, or working towards a CDL license and getting your CDL license so you can start a career as a truck or bus driver. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll just head over here and get going on that. So tonight we're talking about right-of-way rules. Right-of-way rules at road signs, 2-way stops, 4-way stops. And while I was in Kelowna, I had an interesting sign here I'll show you at a 2-way stop, which I thought was interesting and indicated that there were quite a number of traffic crashes happening at that intersection. So for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997, earned my doctorate in legal history in 2006 at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and I studied legal history, and for those of you who may or may not know, legal history is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise is in policing, oddly enough, as it relates to traffic. And I've had people ask me in the past that, you know, a doctorate at a university seems a long way off from being a driving instructor, but really it wasn't. It was just diving deeper into the question of, you know, do people follow road rules because they fear road rules or they respect road rules? And I was just going deeper and deeper into that question. Spent 5 years doing it. While I was going to university, I drove buses for Greyhound there in Australia, and I drove for one of the local bus lines as well. So I have experience driving coaches, and that picture there is a picture of me in 2002 when I still had hair and was driving for Greyhound between Canberra and Melbourne, between Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra is where I was driving, and we went out to Parks as well, which is in the outback of New South Wales. If you want to know more about me, you can head over to the Smart Drive Test website and check out my autobiography. All that information is over there. All right, new video this week. This was lesson 4 with Gavin. Gavin had the mess-up lesson. This is the mess-up lesson where, I don't know, maybe he might have been tired, but this is pretty much par for the course for drivers. When they get a couple of days out from the driver's test, they start to mess stuff up and overthink it and those types of things. So have a look at that video. Really good. I had a little trouble with the audio in that, so I do apologize if there's a hum in the background. I did my best to get what I could of the background noise out of the video, and that's the other thing. I've got some more tech coming to try and improve the audio in the cars when I'm videoing in future here. Okay, so this is the video you want here. Corey, I'll put this video up for you. This is right-of-way rules, which gives you an overview, and I explain right-of-way rules at different intersections. So have a look at that. And I see Corey's put up the link to my autobiography there, so have a look at that. Okay, and this is one of the things that I like to say to people who are part of the Smart Driver community who kind of say that you need to follow the speed limit, the posted speed limit. There are other definitions of speed and speeding, and unfortunately road rules no more prevent traffic crashes than criminal law prevents crime, and we know that for a fact that road rules are not the only contributing factor to reducing the number of traffic crashes and traffic deaths on our roadways. There's other pieces to the larger traffic management system, and we can talk about that during the question and answer period after we're finished here. So the first thing I want to talk about is 2-way stops, and a lot of people are confused about the difference between 4-way stops and 2-way stops, and the rules are different for 2-way stops and 4-way stops. Traffic on the minor road is yielding to traffic on the major road at 2-way intersections, and most suburbs, most cities in the world are divided into major thoroughfares, and then you have minor thoroughfares, and the minor thoroughfare traffic is controlled at the major road. So straight through traffic over turning traffic, and then right turning traffic over left turning traffic. And remember the right of way rules. You can be right or you can be dead right. So the right of way is never given. The right of way is never taken. It's always given. In other words, you have to give it to the other driver or the other driver can't have it. Okay? It's kind of a weird thing. And this is the sign that I was telling you about that we went through the intersection in Kelowna. And I don't know whether you can see that, but underneath the stop sign, I should have stopped and taken a picture of it, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I didn't. Underneath the two-way stop, it says the cross traffic doesn't stop, telling you in very explicit terms that it is a two-way stop sign and you are at a major thoroughfare and the major thoroughfare traffic is not stopping. I thought it was pretty funny. I pulled it off Google there, but I need to go back to Kelowna and take an actual picture of that because I thought it was really, it just drives home the point that a lot of people do not understand two-way stops and that the traffic on the other road is not going to stop. It has the right of way. Okay, so yield signs are the same rules as two-way stops, except that at a yield sign you are not required to come to a complete stop. And as well at yield signs, what was I going to say? Oh, yield signs, you're rarely going to find them at conventional intersections. Most of the time now you're going to find them at roundabouts, you're going to find them at slip lanes, right turning lanes, and you're going to find them on merge lanes onto the freeway, which is simply telling you that the onus of responsibility for merging is on the merging driver. And you can see here at this intersection that even though the stop sign traffic is turning right and the yield sign traffic is turning left, or sorry, they're both turning. Oh, I'm confused. Let me think about that for a second. Four-way stops. First vehicle to right, the vehicle on the right if you're confused. Okay, but that's generally not going to happen. There's a four-way stop sign intersection that four-way stop sign video here that I reshot, and Corey will put that up for you. So have a look at that. If you get there at the same time as another vehicle and you're not sure about who's going to go, just simply pause and the other vehicle will go first and then you can proceed after them, okay? So any road users in the intersection, pedestrians and those types of things have the right of way. And there's kind of, if you go down and look at four-way stops, there's kind of a way that traffic proceeds through. But, okay, straight through traffic over turning traffic and right turning traffic over left turning traffic. We can talk about that more because I wouldn't be surprised if that was a bit confusing the way I explained it. I don't think I explained it as well as I could have. All right, so I talked about right-of-way rules onto freeways and those types of things. On-ramps, acceleration lanes, continuity lines, the gap, match the speed and adjust your speed to hit the target on the freeway because you got to pick your spot as you're coming out onto the freeway and then aim for that spot. And you have to match the speed of the traffic on the freeway. Now, I get a lot of questions, particularly from the United States, because in the United States, they want to stick a yield sign on the on-ramp. The yield sign simply reminds drivers that the onus of the responsibility of merging is on the merging driver. So it's up to you. The other traffic on the roadway might slow down, they might move over, but they are not required to do that to help you out to get you on the freeway. Now, if you signal correctly and you indicate to the other traffic that in fact you are going to come out, then yes, they might help you out. They'll either, let off the throttle a little bit or they'll move over to the other lane to let you out on the freeway, okay? So that's merging on the freeway, and there's a good video here on the channel as well that Corey will put up that you can have a look at for that as well. Top 3 reasons for traffic crashes, okay? Speeding, failing to yield, and following too close. Failing to yield is number 2 on this list, and people just refuse to give the right of way. They believe that they have the right. They're in the right because they're in the right according to the road rules. But again, we go back to the second slide where it said road rules no more prevent crashes than criminal law prevents crime. And this is the same thing. And you have to ask yourself, is this, even though I'm right, is this the best solution to this traffic situation? Because, are you going to risk being involved in a crash and then you're without your vehicle, somebody got injured, somebody got hurt, insurance claims, cost of driving goes up and astronomically and those types of things. So sometimes just letting off the throttle, letting the other person go is going to be your best course of action in terms of giving the right of way. All right, so case study. I did a case study here on the channel. Most people know how to deal with two-way stop signs, but there is a percentage of people that don't know how to deal with two-way stop signs and the correct right-of-way rules. A significant percentage of people said that right turning traffic over left turning traffic, and it's kind of that they're thinking that you take turns at a two-way stop, and that's not the way it is. It's not the same as at a four-way stop, where in fact different crossroads do take turns at four-way stop signs. So that's a basic overview of right-of-way rules. We can talk more about right-of-way rules if you have questions and whatnot. And if you have a test coming up, remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right, so we'll get back over here. There we go. All right, and just in case you forget to pick the best answer in a traffic situation because, you know, you're determined that other people shouldn't be let in, have a look at the t-shirt there. You can purchase those as well. And it says on it, it's basically the tagline for here on Smart Drive Test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right, so Jim Bob, you have to give the right of way to somebody who's coming. Yes. Margaret, two-way stop is more difficult because you have to creep up and wait. Yes. So essentially, Margaret, what you're saying is that when you're at two-way stop signs, you have to come up to the correct stopping position at the stop sign intersection, which is essentially stop line before the sidewalk or crosswalk. And if those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge where the two roads meet, so just before you enter the intersection. And then oftentimes if you stop at the stop line, you can't see the intersection. You can't see the cross traffic. So after you come to a complete stop, then you have to creep forward till you can stop, but you treat it as a yield. So you don't have to come to a stop again. You just move forward, make sure you check the intersection, and then proceed. So yes, they can be confusing for sure. Goose, I teach my students stop signs have three colors, red, white, and silver, the back of the sign. I'm trying to think, Goose, what's the purpose of teaching them the back of the sign? I mean, wouldn't it be more important the shape? I know why, because you're getting them to look across the other side to see if there is a stop sign in case the one on this side is hidden. Am I correct on that? Jim Bob, if you see a sign that says minimum, you have to go over the minimum. Not following that. Okay. Jim Bob, thank you for that. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight. She's with her mom, so she will be back next week. All right, so right-of-way rules, as I said. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what Goose is talking about. Okay, so all stop signs, doesn't matter where you go in the world, they're all hexagon. They're always, 8-sided. And what Goose is saying, it's a defensive driving thing, is that when you're approaching the intersection, if you can't see the stop sign on this side of the intersection, then you're looking on the other side of the intersection for the back of the stop sign on the other side of the intersection. And it's an excellent technique for teaching new drivers because it's a defensive driving maneuver. It's not a maneuver, but it's a defensive driving skill that if this one's hidden behind brush or trees or some other obstruction on the roadway, you're looking at the intersection across and you can see the back of the stop sign on the other side of the intersection. So that can really help you out and keep you safe when you're approaching intersections. Rocky, I was watching the video of 8 more tips when you're saying you cannot be using a backup camera for the purposes of a driver's test. Is that really an automatic fail? Thanks. Rocky, it's not any longer the fierce opinion that you can't use backup cameras now. You can use backup cameras, and Corey will put the video up for you. There is a video here on backup cameras. You can use backup cameras, you just can't use them as your primary line of sight. So in other words, you can't back up for the whole time going like this, looking at your backup camera. You have to still be looking out the back window, but you can be checking your backup camera in the same way that you would check the mirrors and whatnot. But you still need to be doing your 360 degree scan around the vehicle, and you need to be backing up, because I'll tell you, I've driven a few vehicles of late with backup cameras in them. I am a huge advocate of backup cameras. I think that they are incredibly helpful. All right. Margaret, my friend, was rear-ended on the highway but was able to move to the side a bit so the car hit her from the back. Right side not dead on at 60 miles an hour, and she and her dog are okay, but she was terrified. And Margaret, anytime that you're going to be in a traffic crash, whether it's a rear end or you get sideswiped or whatever it is, you're always going to be terrified because you're in shock. And there's a lot of shock that goes with being involved in a traffic crash, and especially if you get rear-ended, it's not nice. But I am happy to hear that your friend is okay. But, you know, being terrified is totally a normal response. And just on that note, you know, and some of the other smart drivers here or watching on the replay will know that if you get into a traffic crash, make sure that you take a moment and try and get yourself back together. Because with a lot of people who've been involved in a traffic crash, what happens is because they're in shock, they forget to secure the vehicle before they get out of it, right? Because you need to get out of the vehicle to go and talk to the other person, because oftentimes the other person will stop, or, you know, other people will stop, or those types of things. So make sure that, you know, you put the vehicle into park and you apply the parking brake so when you get out, the vehicle doesn't roll away and cause another crash. Because, as I said, you are in shock, right? It's just something that happens to us as human beings. We like to think that, you know, it's not like Hollywood films at all where you see them get in a car crash and they just get out of the car and walk away and everything's fine. It doesn't happen like that in real life. So make sure you take a moment, get yourself together, and ensure that you secure the vehicle before you get out of the vehicle to go and talk to whoever you need to talk to. Okay. Hi, if you're doing a road test and you see a stopped car in the middle of the road in a rural area, do you turn your right turn signal on and pass it, or wait for the examiner to tell you to pass it? Okay, so that's a good question. All right, so if you have a vehicle stopped in the middle of a highway for whatever reason, the first thing you need to do is you need to slow down and you need to figure out why that vehicle stopped. Okay, is there something wrong with their car? Did they break down? Is there an animal on the roadway? Is there farm machinery up front? Is there an obstruction across the roadway? A tree fell on the road, or those types of things. So that's the first thing you need to do. And if the vehicle is just there, because the vehicle's not going to be there just randomly, right? It didn't just drop out of the sky under the road for some reason. You need to figure out why the vehicle has stopped, because oftentimes there's a reason why the vehicle stopped. If everything's good and you can go past the vehicle, then yes, you need to mirror signal shoulder check into the other lane, go around the vehicle, and then mirror signal shoulder check back into your lane. And there's a video here, Corey will put that up for you, on how to pass vehicles and obstructions on the roadway and those types of things. Thought for a presentation, protecting your interests after a crash. That's an excellent suggestion, Tim. Yeah, and actually that would be worth doing a video on. Maybe you and I could do a collaboration on that and do a video together. All right. Hello from Ontario, DC, my friend. How are you? Goose snowplows sometimes knock them down and trees hide them. Yes, all of that happens with stop signs and other traffic signs as well, Goose. But that's an excellent defensive driving technique, and it's the same with school zones here in British Columbia. I don't know if it's the same there in Northern Ontario where you're teaching, but here we don't have end school zone signs, so you have to look for the back of the Pentagon to know when you're in the end school zone here in British Columbia. Ben, is it failure to stop if the light turns red barely after you enter the intersection? Ben, yes it is. Unfortunately, if you go through into the intersection on a yellow light, and as you're going through the intersection, the examiner looks up through the top of the windshield and the light turns red, unfortunately that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. So Corey will put the video up for you on yellow lights and have a look at that video on how to deal with yellow lights for the purposes of your driver's test. Because keep in mind, for the purposes of your driver's test, yellow and red are the same color. Okay, they both mean stop. So if you can get the vehicle stopped, get the vehicle stopped. And there, Corey's put the video up for you on how to change lanes and move around road users of fixed objects, and that'll help you out there. Yes, end school zone sign. So you have to know what the back of a Pentagon looks like. Rocky 925, I better hop into bed. Excuse me, thank you and good night. And good night, Rocky. All the best, my friend. Jeter, do you have to do at least the speed limit sign? Yes, you do, Jeter. For the purposes of your driver's test, you have to drive the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. And get it up to speed as quickly as possible. So it's 50 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour. Make sure you get the vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible. Okay. All right. Saklim, I had to demerit off my road test because I missed the end of the playground zone. But you did pass though, Saklim. Did you pass your driver's test? Okay. Let me know. What is a slip lane? Mallory, a slip lane is it's a turning lane. It's like a right turning lane. It's can either be called a turning lane or a slip lane. It's one or the other because you just kind of slip around the corner right in the slip lane. All right, Evan, who has the right of way out of two cars on the same street and each? So I did the city driving simulator where I was in the rightmost lane. Okay, but Evan, what I don't understand is you've got two turning lanes to the right. If you have two turning lanes to the right, nobody goes first. Evan, it's probably better if you send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com. Maybe sketch me a little image of what you're talking about because I'm not quite following that. But send me a sketch and I'll be able to give you more specific information because I'm not going to give you the right answer that you need, okay? Sam, you helped me pass my driver's test 2 years ago. Thank you, Sam. You're most welcome. That's awesome. Saklim, you did pass. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. If it was only 1 or 2 demerits, then you did really well on your driver's test. So congratulations on doing that. Winston, why most drivers in Canada don't follow speed limit signs? Winston, you'll find that most drivers, not just in Canada, but in the world, except for Australia or other places that have speed cameras, they don't follow the speed limit. And actually, I was surprised when I went to Alberta. You know, there are a lot more police officers and a lot more speed cameras and red light cameras in Calgary than there are here where I live in British Columbia. So most of the time, the flow of traffic is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 kilometers or 10 to 15 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. So that's just what it is. That's part of driving culture, that the traffic flow is always going to be higher than the posted speed limit. Ben, going fast is fun. Let's just say that the X5, the BMW X5 that we drove, had a V6 turbo in it. And Ben, I tend to agree with you that going fast is fun. Okay, Jim Bob, if your vehicle starts to slide, how do you control it? Excellent question. You get your foot off the throttle, get your foot off the brake, look in the direction you want to go, and steer in the direction that you want to go is how you control your vehicle sliding, is what you do. Pearson, it happens sometimes at larger intersections where there's a lot of traffic going right. The two rightmost lanes will go right. Okay. So, okay, Dylan, I have my G test tomorrow at 2. Wish me luck. Dylan, you're going to do great. Remember to breathe. That'll cause your body to relax. You're going to do awesome. Mallory, thanks for answering my question. I really enjoy your videos. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mallory. Glad we can help out. And if you have any other questions, drop us a comment or send me an email. We'll be able to definitely help you out. Maybe in Toronto. Yeah, Goose, I have to agree. I don't know too many places that have double right turning lanes. I do know a lot of places that have double left turning lanes, but as a rule, there aren't a lot of double right turning lanes. At least I can't recall too many of those at all. Okay. Naweed, turning right while green and pedestrian is far from you, but still they are a pedestrian lane. Okay, Naweed, have a look at, Corey, I'll put the video up for you on pedestrians, how far from pedestrians. Basically, you need half a lane between you and pedestrians if the pedestrian is going away from you. If the pedestrian is coming towards you and is, I would say, it has to be more than 2 lanes buffer between you and the pedestrian. Otherwise, you're going to wait for the pedestrian to get to the curb before you can proceed on your turn. Saklim, is the G test the equivalent of British Columbia N? Yes, it is, Saklim. So it's the same thing. Here we have the N test, yes, and it's the G1, G2. So it's the G2 test, and then it's the G test for the full license. So G1 is learners, G2 is N, and then the G is the full license. So it would be the Class 5 test here in British Columbia. Jim Bob, I've seen a double right turning lane. Jim Bob, where have you seen a double right turning lane? Because I can't think of one off the top of my head. Jeter. Okay, so Jeter, are you talking about a driving test or are you talking about after your driver's test? Because if it's for the purposes of a driver's test, no, you do not keep up with the flow of traffic. You drive the posted speed limit if you're going for a driver's test. You cannot keep up with traffic flow for the purposes of a driver's test. Ben, I was in London, Ontario today, and I remember a double right turn lane onto a one-way street. Interesting. Ben, London, Ontario. I'm trying to think where there might be one in London, Ontario, because I'm from London, Ontario. So, onto a one-way. Okay. If you can remember the address, maybe you can send that to me and I have a look at it on Google. Okay. OA, the question's been bothering me. What would you do if you were on a highway doing 100 kilometers an hour and your brakes failed? Okay, so OA, don't fret about your brakes failing because it's very unlikely that brakes are going to fail on your car. Brakes have been divided into 2 independent subsystems since the early 1970s. So 30, 50 years, more than 50 years, brakes have been divided into independent subsystems. So if you open the hood on your car, the master cylinder is on the wall at the back of the engine compartment right in front of the steering wheel. If you open the master cylinder, there's hydraulic fluid in there, and you'll notice that there's 2 chambers in there. One chamber is for the front brakes and one chamber is for the rear brakes. So it's unlikely that your brake system is going to fail completely. If the back fails, then the front will still work. If the front fails, the back will still work. Now, if the master cylinder falls off the car for whatever reason and you completely lose your brakes, then you still have your parking brake, and you can apply your parking brake and use it as an emergency brake to bring the vehicle to a stop. So you have 2 independent subsystems, which is one is to back up to the other one. And if then that fails, then you can use your parking brake as an emergency brake to bring the vehicle to a safe stop. So the brakes are not going to fail. Very, very remote chance of your brakes failing because you have 2 backups to prevent your brakes from failing. So brakes are very reliable in this day and age, and it's not likely they're going to fail. Okay. Naweed, well, changing lanes, how much should you accelerate more? Okay, so Naweed, excellent question. You probably only need to increase your speed 2 or 3 kilometers an hour, 1 or 2 miles an hour, to move from one lane to the other, because you got to increase your speed a little bit because you're going on a diagonal and covering more ground. It's not a lot. It's just a very gentle kind of increase in speed to move from one lane to the other, but it's not a whole lot. That's all you're doing. Adone, hello from New Jersey. 3 years ago, I needed help with regulations and driving classes. Now I'm into cars so much, and it all started with your content. Thank you so much. Adone, you are most welcome, and we're really happy to hear you're into cars because I get kind of excited about cars. I mean, I like cars. And, it's been a great education test driving cars and trying to figure out which one I want to buy. Like I said, I'm really leaning towards the BMW X5. Just fun to drive, really kind of edgy. We did go down, and as I said yesterday, we did drive the Acura MDX yesterday. And, don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful machine. Racing technology in it. It just goes around the corner. the computer adjusts the suspension on it. It's got all-wheel drive. When it goes around the corner, it actually speeds up one set of wheels when it's going around the corner. And man, the thing just goes around the corner like nobody's business. But, you know, the MDX is kind of, you know, it's a high-end family car. And I need something edgy, you know, like a BMW X5. The BMW X5 was just simple, and it was really just lived up to the slogan of BMW, the ultimate driving experience. And that's really what it felt like. The Audi Q7 was unfortunately very disappointing. From the time that I sat in the Q7, I was like, nah, this is not it, you know. And it comes back to that saying in life that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And basically what they did with the Q7 was they took every automotive bell and whistle and they stuck it into a car, and you're just like, wow, this is just like too busy. There's too much going on here. So I didn't really like the Q7, but I really did like the X5, the BMW X5. But the Acura, it's a beautiful car, and let me tell you, it's got 3 different modes on it. It's got a comfort mode, it's got a normal mode, and a sport mode. And you put it in the sport mode, you know that you're in sport mode. You know that thing just wants to get out and go. So there you go. There's a little bit about cars. All right, Tim. Assuming the owner does regular maintenance, I used to find the odd vehicles whose master cylinder had no cylinder in one half. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, no. You know, people wondering why the oil light comes on, or, you know, the washer fluid's empty, or those types of things. No, I understand. And it's important that people do regular maintenance. You know, once a month you should go under the hood and go through the hood and those types of things and make sure that you check all your fluid levels, and especially that. And my old Honda has a hydraulic clutch in it. So, you know, I know that every couple of months I have to put hydraulic fluid, because it's the same brake fluid in the hydraulic clutch for my Honda as it is in the brake, the master cylinder. And I have to go through and put clutch fluid in it. Or, you know, I've had a couple of times where all of a sudden it's like I got no clutch, and it's not because the clutch is worn out, it's just because there's no hydraulic fluid in the pump. So yeah, it's very important to determine that you keep the brake fluid topped up. Okay, Montreal, now that makes sense. Confession, I have trouble driving in Quebec. That's funny, Goose. That's funny. Pearson, I know there's one intersection with double right turn lanes in Montreal near my house at Leo Parassu and Avenue de Parc. If you want to visit in person via Google Maps. Yes, Mallory, I am blind and not able to drive, but I really do enjoy watching your videos and find them very educational. Mallory, what is your eyesight? Is it 2200 or is it 2100? That'd be interesting to know. I don't know. You've probably seen the video with Jen on low vision, and she got her license back. Okay, Tim. Or the odd driver with the brake warning light taped over with black plastic tape. Yeah, that's just scary, Tim. The number of things that people do when they're driving. Jim Bob, I want to get a pickup. Yes, okay, awesome. Any particular kind of pickup that you want? I'm prone to the Nissan, the Tundra. Is it the Tundra? Yeah, it's the big one. That's the Tundra. Sacleen, would I use my turn signals as a BM driver? Yes, I'm very good about using my turn signals, even though I'm driving a Beamer. Tim, dinner time. See you next week. Okay, Tim, you have a great night, my friend. All the best. Dylan, when you come up to a road sign that says 80 kilometers an hour begins here, does that mean you have to wait till after the sign to accelerate, or do you have to hit that speed at the sign? No, you can. So there's a transition period, Dylan, between... so there will be a sign that says 80 kilometers an hour ahead, and then it'll say 80 kilometers an hour begins. So there's a kind of a transition period for you to accelerate between those two signs on the roadway is what's going to happen most of the time. Goose, excellent. Okay, so your wife is clinically blind as well. Goose, do you know what the rules are there in Ontario in terms of what your eyesight has to be able to drive with bad eyesight? Jim Bob, when should you check your oil level? Jim Bob, I usually recommend that people check the oil every couple of weeks. Okay, so every couple of weeks, just pop the hood, check the oil, have a quick look. And the other thing about most newer vehicles are all going to have reservoirs that are clear plastic, so you can see the liquid level through the side of the master cylinder. You can see the radiator fluid in the overflow. Most new vehicles, you're going to check the radiator fluid, in the overflow. So you just look at the minimum maximum line and you just check it. It's pretty quick. You don't even have to take the cap off the radiator. Same thing with, and when I check the oil on my car, I just go out in the morning when it hasn't been driven for, 6 hours or the day before, pop the hood and just pull the dipstick out. You don't even have to wipe it off when the engine has been sitting for a while. Just check the dipstick and stick it back in and carry on with your life. It's really easy to do. Same thing. Okay. Garama, any tips for person scared of driving, never driven a car yet, just going to break ice next week, so nervous of crashes? Garama, have a look at the video on 9 tips on fear and anxiety around driving, and that'll really help you out and get you going. And the other thing that I would suggest kind of in the time between now and next week, when you kind of going to go out driving, just get in the vehicle and sit in the vehicle and just start getting accustomed to where the secondary controls and those types of things are. And next week, if you have some fear and trepidation, I don't know if you're going out with a driving instructor or you're going out with a mentor, but the other thing is ask them to start you in a parking lot with some pylons, right? And Corey will put up the playlist on beginner drivers, and just go into a parking lot and work with the pylons and those types of things. And then that way you don't have the pressure of other traffic around and you're driving on the roadways and those types of things. That'll really get you started, and it'll be a lot easier for you than just heading out into traffic, a lot easier. Naweed, my instructor always talks about negative things while driving, such as crashing, getting fined, etc. And what makes me a lot nervous is that because they warn for future. Yeah, that's unfortunate, Naweed. I know that there are a lot of driving instructors who say those types of things, and I wish I could kind of take those kind of driving instructors and say that they're not helping students when they're terrifying them, because it doesn't really work. It just makes them uncomfortable, makes them tense, makes them anxious, and it's not helping the students. So, if any driving instructors who are watching, remember that kind of fear factor, there's a time and a place for it, but not all the time. Not all the time, okay? Driving has to be fun, because driving is fun. It should be fun, and we like doing it. We like going fast in the right places and types of things. We like driving nice cars and whatnot, but, it should be fun. There are risks, but how do we mitigate those risks? What habits and skills and techniques can we put in place that will keep us safe and allow us to have fun as well, right? It's the same thing. Drove the Volkswagen 1.8 turbo all the way to Calgary and back, and it was a lot of fun. It's a fun car, drives well on the highway and those types of things. Plus, it gets great fuel economy, which is just awesome, right? Okay, Jim Bob, I'm thinking of a Ford 150. Definitely a nice truck. So yeah, and lots of those secondhand, so you get a good one, pre-owned, and it won't cost you quite as much money and whatnot. So excellent. DC, would you recommend getting a right-hand drive vehicle? DC, I would not. Absolutely not. I'm dead set against them. I cannot even understand why they let them into the country. Okay, right-hand vehicles are 40% more likely to be involved in a crash. So, I just can't say anything else about them. That's all I would say is no, absolutely not. Katie, can deaf people who have severe hearing loss drive? Katie, yes, they can. And I think, Katie, do some research. I think there's also some technology that will help you with a hearing disability to be able to drive. Nelson, when we were doing the work with the vehicle with hand controls, was saying that there's technology available that will indicate when there's an emergency vehicle in your vicinity, which, in case you can't hear the emergency vehicle, there's a warning on the instrument panel somewhere. Epic. Some highway interchange signs are confusing because they have the lane you're traveling in having a choice to exit or go straight. This is commonly seen in Toronto, Ontario, but not in New Jersey. Yes, and I know what you're talking about, Epic. It can be confusing at times about, whether you're going straight because, and then, when we were driving in Calgary, it's a major metropolis, big city. That's what I was trying to say. And you got two lanes that are turning, and you get off the two lanes on the exit, and one lane goes to the right and one lane goes to the left. So you got to make sure that when you get off with the two lanes going to exiting off the road, that you got to know whether you're going to go north or whether you're going to go south, because you got to be in either the left lane or the right lane. And then of course it's a solid white line, and you can't cross over the solid white line. Well, at least you're not supposed to, right? OA, I have an issue with driving into the parking space between two lines. Would it be an automatic fail on a road test if I just went slightly over the line and did not adjust the vehicle? OA, remember, you don't have to get it in there perfect. You just have to get it between the lines. And OA, does your vehicle have a backup camera? Because if you have a backup camera, that's going to make reverse stall parking a lot easier, much, much easier. Okay? Goose, I never scare my students like that. I'm happy to hear that, Goose, that you don't. Because there's two styles of teaching, right? There's empowering. We're working to empower our students and give people the best information that we can without terrifying them. And then there's those power over people. It's like, oh, if you do this or you do that, you're gonna die. If you do this, you're gonna die. And and it's like, oh my God, those kinds of, it's like, look how much I know about, traffic stats and statistics and this and that. And it's like, oh, I don't have any room for those people in my life and in my teaching, because teaching it's an exercise in optimism. It's about making people better. So it really should be about empowerment. What's the best information that I can give you so that we can make you the best version of you? We can make you the best version of a driver possible on the roadways and have fun at the same time. Because learning, driving, this whole experience, all of this should be as much fun as possible. Because if it's not fun, there's no point doing it, right? Jim Bob, in some states, why is it illegal to follow an emergency vehicle? Jim Bob, it's just that there tend to be people who are like ambulance chasers and want to see where the crash is or the emergency or the fire or whatnot, and they tend to get in the way of an emergency vehicle. So that's why they put those laws in place, to prevent people from following emergency vehicles. Okay? You must have no worse than 20/50 vision and 120-degree peripheral vision with both eyes open and while wearing corrective lenses. 20/50. Wow, that is a high bar. That is a very high bar, because I know in the state of Washington, with Jan, it was 2100 vision. For those of you who don't understand the kind of eye chart thing, with 20/50 vision, that what a normal person would see at 20 feet, what a normal person would see at 50 feet, the other person would have to be 20 feet away from the same thing to be able to see it. So 2100 vision, which was the requirement in the state of Washington, is that a person who could see something from 100 feet, that person had to be 20 feet. So it was like 1/5 of the vision. That 20/50 is almost half of what it is in the state of Washington. So it's a very high bar in the state of Ontario to get your license if you have eyesight problems. Margaret, my first driving lesson was after dark in rush hour traffic. I wouldn't recommend that for a new driver. Oh my God, Margaret. I can understand the challenges of space and those types of things there in Brooklyn and those types of things, because I've driven in Brooklyn, but that's just crazy. Rush hour traffic in the dark with a new driver. I'm surprised you're even still giving it a go after that experience, Margaret. Kudos to you for sure. Naweed, I wish you would be my instructor. Well, we can do what we can here on the channel and help you out, Naweed, to get a license and get you driving for sure. Epic, speaking of a rectangular sign, like states routinely use them for safety measures. Okay. Not really following that, Epic. Sorry. You're talking about rectangular signs, but I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Okay, Corey put the video up for perpendicular stall park for drivers. Excellent. Exactly, Goose. Yeah, if it's not fun, there's no point doing it for sure. It's like this YouTube thing. It's got to be fun. You got to be passionate about it because after a while, it's it's a lot of wash, rinse, repeat for sure. Is it allowed when traffic is clear to have overspeed from the limited speed? No, if you're going for a driver's test, you have to stay at the posted speed limit. Okay, that's what you got to do for the purposes of your driver's test. Moomin, Mr. Rick was wondering if you can please give me some advice. Every time I make a right turn, I feel like I'm going to get rear-ended. Drivers behind me drive very close and honk. Okay. Okay, so Moomin, sorry, 15 to 20 miles an hour on a right turn, that's way too fast, okay? That's way too fast for a right turn. A right turn should be kind of 8 to 12 miles an hour. As a general rule, right? It's going to depend on the intersection where you're turning right and those types of things. But, signal early to indicate that you're going to turn. Mirror signal shoulder check. Make sure you check your rear mirror. Make sure there isn't anybody behind you coming up your trunk or those types of things. And if somebody is sitting on your back end and they're trying to, push you along, then maybe just abort the turn and go to the next intersection and turn right and those types of things, okay? Jeter, I don't know if you found this information yet. Being inebriated on drugs is like being drunk on alcohol. Jeter, that's absolutely correct. And, now we have the legalization of marijuana in a lot of provinces and states. And now that's coming on board as a problem with driving as well. Me personally, for new drivers, my friend Nelson in Calgary had a RAV4, busy. The Q7 was very busy with all of the telematics inside of the vehicle. There's like 3 screens. There's your instrument panel with the nav sat in behind it. There's another one for your comfort creature controls in the heat and the cooling and the air conditioning and those types of things. And yet another one up here. And it's just like, oh my God, the overload of information inside of these vehicles is just incredible. So, it's not just drunk driving, it's distracted driving. And it's not just distracted driving using your phone while you're driving. It's all of the crap that they're putting in these vehicles now. It's getting to be too much. There's simply too much to process. And the other thing about it, in these high-end vehicles, when you change the mode of the vehicle, the driving mode of the vehicle from comfort to normal to sport, the whole instrument panel changes. So, and I mean, maybe it's different, when you're used to driving the vehicle and you kind of know what's going on and those types of things. But when you get in it for the first time, you're like, oh my God, this is so distracting. There's just so much to go on. And I mean, I'm a very experienced veteran driver. I've been in trucks and those types of things with, dials and gauges and switches and all those types of things. So it doesn't really, I can block it out. But I think of a new driver who gets in one of these new high-end vehicles and there's so much stuff going on, it's really tough to kind of process all of that out and teach drivers, teach new drivers. The challenge for driving instructors and mentors is, you have to teach the new driver what's important and what isn't important and how to filter this out so you can concentrate on the task of driving your vehicle up and down the road. Jim Bob, if you drink at the bar, how long do you have to wait? Jim Bob, it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how big you are, how much you weigh, how much you've had to eat for the course of the day, those types of things. Generally, you can have, as a kind of a general rule, I'm saying a very general rule here because it varies for everybody, but it's 1 drink an hour, kind of, sort of. But like I said, I would take that with a very big grain of salt about how much you can drink. If you're in the least bit doubt about how much you've had to drink or whether you're safe to drive or those types of things, like I said, a $50 cab ride is pretty cheap. For the alternative, if you get stopped or pulled over and you start, you have to defend yourself against prosecution of a drink driving charge. It's not worth it. It is just not worth it. Okay, Ben, hypothetical, could I do a driver's test in Ontario with my speedometer in miles per hour? Ben, There's no reason why you can't, as long as the vehicle is roadworthy. There's no reason why you can't do your test with your speedometer miles per hour. As long as you're doing, 30 miles an hour in town, then you're going to be fine. Okay? And Goose, what do you do when one of your students tends to stop on green lights before a right turn? Scares the hell out of me. Goose, if I had that happening with a student on a regular basis, then basically what I would do is I would go back to the parking lot and get them doing right turns in a parking lot so that they're not doing that anymore. Okay? Margaret, get a ride from someone or a cab. Seriously, even if you start to sober up, you might still fall asleep at the wheel after being out drinking. Yes, exactly. Noeed, almost approaching intersection and want to turn right while the light is yellow. Should I try to turn? Noeed, no, you shouldn't. As I said before, for the purposes of a driver's test, excuse me, red lights and yellow lights are the same color, and especially for the purposes of a driver's test, if it turns yellow, you got to bring the vehicle to a stop. Okay? Excellent. All right, so we're near the top of the hour here. That is brilliant. Okay, so we've been designing some t-shirts, getting some t-shirts up as well, and you can see the one there. That's the one example. I've got a couple of more that I'm getting ready to go here as well. And test driving vehicles, new videos coming up. The 5th lesson with Gavin, so there's 2 more lessons with Gavin. There's the 5th driving lesson and then his driver's test. And we did a kind of a pre-driving lesson before his test as well. Yes, Goose. If I have somebody who's not doing turns well or is having some other problem controlling the vehicle, especially on turns, then I just take them back to the parking lot and just revisit all of that stuff in the parking lot for sure. Okay. So if you passed the driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on passing your driver's test. If you have a driver's test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. If you need any help, have any questions at all, leave us a comment down in the comment section there. Send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com. And as well, remember the Pass Your Driver's Test course package is available over at the Smart Drive Test website. Frequently asked questions about driver's tests in every state and province is available there, and the checklist. Pass Your Driver's Test first time checklist is available over there as well. So check all the good stuff out over at the Smart Drive Test website. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.